To call the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of September 14th, 2020 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas.
Present.
Hood.
Here.
Thorstensen. Here. Ross. Here. Garner.
Here.
6 present.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first order of business is approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee Balmas. Roll call, please, Andy.
O'Brien. Aye. Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen. Aye. Ross. Aye. Garner.
Aye.
6 ayes.
All right, motion carries. Patrick, please read the consent agenda into the record.
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the August 31st, 2020 Village Board meeting. Item number 2, approval of payroll for period ending August 28th, 2020 in the amount of $863,372.82. Item number 3, approval of bills for period ending September 14th, 2020 in the amount of $2,041,518.80.
Thank you, Patrick. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross. Aye. Garner.
Aye.
6 ayes.
All right, motion carries. Petitions and communications, we have a proclamation designating September 15th through October 15th, 2020 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the Village of Gurnee. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to read it into the record. So do I have a motion to approve? Motion by trustee O'Brien, second by trustee Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. Under reports tonight, we have a presentation by our assistant to the administrator, Jack, on fixing leaf collection. What a miracle. So Jack or Pat, whoever wants to start it
All
off?
Jack.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
Mayor,
All
Village Board,
Jack.
for the opportunity to present this proposal. Just a quick overview, just for those not familiar. Our annual leaf program, it's a free add-on negotiated in our current contract, and it takes place for 6 weeks in the fall, from mid-October to the end of November. Residents essentially just rake their leaves to the curb, not in the street, and Waste Management will come through with a vacuum truck to pick up to the designated areas each day of the week, so you have a assigned day of the week, completing the community by Friday. And then if you put out landscape bags, it does require a subscription or stickers. So the current program has some challenges. On paper, it's a great program, and it's something that we want to keep, but we are realizing that there are some issues with it. Some of the current issues with the program is in recent years, Waste Management struggled to maintain the schedule. So they're not able to keep up with dates. If they say that your pickup's on Monday, sometimes it's Tuesday. And what will happen is they'll fall further and further behind to a point that maybe Monday's pickup may be not completed till Thursday. And so at that point, it becomes kind of a rolling cycle where they're just perpetually behind, never quite catching up. So it does require them to sweep the whole community every single week. They have to do the program weekly. Essentially, their chances of success are pretty small in that time. And they're susceptible to plenty of weather delays. Last year with snow piles covering leaves, if it's windy, the leaves get scattered, and rain makes them stick into the vacuum. So that really culminated last year with one of the most difficult years we've had in the program. Early Halloween snowstorm didn't help, and they never fully caught up. So they didn't complete the LEAF program until December 23rd, so right before Christmas, weeks after it was supposed to end. They tried to stay around, they tried to make it right, but residents were really frustrated by that point. And so it was frustrating for staff as well. That's not the program we want to be able to offer. We want to offer a better program than that. So we sat down with Waste Management to come up with a new solution that hopefully is good for both residents and also staff in helping us manage the program. So the new proposed program that we're suggesting is shifting from a current 6-week program to an 8-week program. During this 8 weeks, you can put out unlimited bags of leaves, sticks, debris, as much as you want every single week. Now, we realize that this wouldn't be, all residents wouldn't be okay with that. A lot of them still like having the vacuum come. They like just raking it to the edge of the road. So what we're proposing is every other week, the vacuum truck would still come by. How we decide where it goes is based on your relation to I-94. Hopefully that people can kind of recognize whether they live east or west of it. And we have a map to help if they can't. But essentially, so 1 week, let's say the first week of the program, everybody east of I-94 is going to be picked up. The next week, everyone west. In total, it ends up being 4 pickups throughout the season. In this program, this change would have no cost to residents, so it's no additional cost. So to show kind of our accounts, we did a balance to see of how many residential water accounts for single family. So if you see, it's a pretty even divide. There's 4,300 accounts on the west side, 4,800 in the east. The west is a little bit heavier volume now, though, so it's a pretty good balance overall. So just to kind of walk you through, there are pros and cons of the program. We think that the potential pros far outweigh the cons. So the pro of this is the resident will receive 8 weeks of unlimited bag pickup. For some residents, this is a huge new free service that they can put out unlimited, no stickers required, bags every single week. Bags have the benefit, they can be moved easier for snowfall. So if it's a threat of snow, you can move your bags, you can pull them back from the plows, and once it's done snowing, you can go find them again. Where if it's leaves, they're frozen to the ground and they're stuck. Also less susceptible to wind. They're also a lot easier for waste management to pick up. So they can go through, dump bags in the back of a landscape truck far quicker than the vacuum. So from waste management's perspective, it's also a benefit. The whole program, there's an increased reliability of service from the vacuuming weeks. You know during your vacuuming week that they're going to be able to come because they're focusing on half the town at one time. Same number of drivers. So what they'll do is they'll be able to just do a much cleaner sweep. And so it's more reliable. You know they're going to pick up during that week. The thing that is going to go away is the day. There's no longer going to be a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday because it becomes so hard to track. In the future, if we end up finding that we want to bring it back, what we may do is then maybe what we do is we would assign days for the weeks, but it's too confusing to start at the week. So it's just put your leaves out in the week, they'll come through and get it that week. One of the things too is there's less time from staff's perspective. We get a lot of calls. In a tough season, we're talking like thousands of calls of missed pickups, and there's not much. If we take a truck that missed somebody's pickup and send it back to pick it up, that's a truck that's not picking up the routes it's supposed to pick up. So that's kind of where you get this mess of we're sending trucks to go help people that got missed, and it's getting further and further behind. So what we're doing is we're hoping to kind of get away from that. Let's do a really good program every other week instead of a not so good program every week. So some of the cons is if a resident missed a week or there's a delay, we are going to wait until the next week to send it back. Now, if Waste Management gets done with let's say they get done with West Gurnee by Thursday, Friday they can go through and pick up people that they missed or go through, do a clean sweep, maybe go on to the other side and pick up any leaf piles that are there, ahead of time to get kind of a further jump or to catch up. And then for some, if you do count, if it's now 4 pickups versus 6. So there is a little bit difference of a service level. But in reality, people who had 6 pickups last year were few and far between. So that's kind of how we see it as a benefit. So the next thing that would happen is if direction's given, if the board is supportive of this, we're going to start blasting it out immediately. So we'll have putting out press releases, October keeping posted, utility bill messaging, social media, and then also a non-emergency CTY call, just to let people know of the change. So that's kind of our next step of this. And we do have an interactive map, too, that essentially residents can click on. It's one of our GIS maps. Type in your address. It'll tell you your schedule and your days. Are there questions or comments about the program?
Well, considering Pat and I were ready to cancel the program last year, we were both so frustrated with the calls, and you got the brunt of it. I mean, we only get like the worst of it, but it's been getting worse every year. Not anything to do with staff or waste management, just the weather's not been cooperating with us. Every year we're getting either snow earlier or more rain, and so this sounds better for me, I don't have a lot of leaves in my yard, so I don't go through it. And some of you may actually have more experience with the leaf pickup. Comments? Trustee Garner?
Yeah, how many trucks do we have? Is there a set number of
So
trucks?
Waste Management usually runs 5 trucks in Gurnee. So they usually have 5. They'll move them around. So if like, and that was what was happening last year, is they fell behind in Gurnee, Lake Villa, Grays Lake, and Warren Township. And so what they'll do is instead of, they'll kind of send extra trucks to one area at the sacrifice of the others to try to catch up. And that was kind of what happened last year, is they would send additional trucks to other spots, and they kind of move them, and so, yeah,
So what I hear you saying is we'll have 5 trucks on one side of town
yes.
for a whole week.
Correct, yep, so they're
and
gonna
5 on
focus the
other
same
side.
number.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more efficient.
Trustee O'Brien?
Just for clarification, that's 5 vacuum trucks. Actually, every single week, there's going to be bag pickup trucks, right?
Yes, correct. So the landscape trucks will still run. So they'll still run and pick up bags. Now, at the beginning, it depends on how many residents take advantage of it. They then can move over one additional landscape truck, because we are the only program in the area that's proposing this. The other community, or the other Lake Villa, Grays Lake, Warren Township, from my understanding, they're not proposing this, so they'll be still on the old program. So then, if we have more bags than they do, they probably will move more bag trucks to us.
Thank you.
Trustee Thorstensen?
I think it sounds really innovative, a good approach. I think you had me when you said that, you know, we could do it every other week correctly versus every week incorrectly, or how you put it. I wouldn't imagine that all of your call volume would go down because it's a new program, right? But I hope we can keep up with it and, you know, have expectations that it's year 1 and try it again for year 2, because I do believe it sounds like it's a great program.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were joking about it earlier, that we know that first week, we're gonna get a lot of calls from people who, you know, as much as we try to blast it out, we never can hit everybody, so we know that they'll be wondering why they haven't gotten pickup. So it'll be a little tough at the beginning, but we hope that the transition will help. And the other part with that too is we do want to prepare some communities. The industry might be moving more and more towards bagged pickup, so this hopefully is kind of a gentle introduction to it, so that if something happened and we can't do a vacuum program anymore, we at least have introduced bags as kind of a concept, so.
Trustee Ross?
So the other communities that use the same trucks, or we have our own 5 trucks?
So we have our own usually dedicated 5, but they'll move them in between. So they all, in total, Waste Management probably runs like 15 to 20 trucks in Lake County. So like what they did last year at the end, we were the last ones finishing up, and they were just not making headway in the end of December. So they sent pretty much every single truck that last week just to really clear up everything and make sure every pile was done.
I guess my concern was just if they were behind in the other places, and we're only doing every other, and then they skip ours, and it's every 4th, then that would be a problem. So,
Yeah, and
especially because people are used to every week.
right, and so that is the concern too, or if you get a bad week of weather. So if you get if it's, and that's one of the risks, I will say. So if it's just terrible luck that if you're an east side resident, every time it's your week, it snows, and then it's beautiful the next week. So there is a little bit of variability. Lincolnshire does do every other week, and they've been doing it with Waste Management. They don't do free bags, but they've been doing every other week for a couple years, and it's gone pretty well there from what I've seen.
So even if there was bad weather, they have the option to bag it and get it picked up that week.
Yeah, but if you have 6-foot-high leaves and a big yard, you're not going to bag it.
Well, as Jack said, there may come a day where we're not going to have the vacuum trucks at all, and it's all going to be bags. So this is kind of a way to maybe start encouraging people to think about bagging. And that's what he just said, that the vacuum trucks may be on their way out.
And there's no indication yet. It's just we're kind of preparing for that. But to your fear, too, that they won't pull all the trucks from Gurnee. And so what they would do is they would still have our trucks. They just have a smaller area to cover. So hopefully the goal is that kind of what would happen in the past, too. So, for example, a Friday route would always be on Friday. And so what happened is if they fell behind a day, it would become, they'd then maybe start Friday on Monday, but then they're just falling further behind. Our hope is that by dividing the community in half, they can really focus on a smaller area and never fall that far behind. So they probably will do some shifting still with the other trucks. That's kind of some of their workforce, and that's kind of where we try to work together with the other communities.
Well, then I hope you kind of make it clear to them that you don't want your trucks being pulled to other communities.
Oh, no, we won't. So they,
Because if we
We have a-
agree to this, then that's the agreement. It shouldn't be, then they can just decide, okay, Lake Villa needs it this week, and we'll take them from Gurnee.
no, they won't, and that's part of it too. I mean, even last year when they were kind of moving around trucks, we always probably had at least 4 or 5 trucks at any given time. Now, the hard part does come, there's a lot of other nuances that slow it down, not just that, the volume. Last year, they ran into a lot of issues with temporary workers. So it's a temporary seasonal job. A lot of the employees, they were constantly cycling employees essentially because they get the job, it requires a CDL. You can go get a full-time, if you have a CDL in the economy in 2019, you could get a full-time job if you looked or were wanting one. So they were constantly getting new employees. This year, most likely, that probably won't quite be the case. It's not as competitive of a job market. So that should help. And also, they had some mechanical issues that could, if they go down a truck, it becomes tough.
I know me personally, I had the vacuum truck come by 2 times last year, and I'm right down the hallway from Jack, who's in charge of the program. The bagged collection should provide some relief to the vacuum guys, because me, for instance, I'll bag my leaves going forward, so the vacuum truck doesn't need to stop at my house, suck my leaves up, so hopefully that'll provide some relief. I know there was concerns last year that Waste Management wasn't pulling their weight or wasn't in town working. We have cameras at Public Works aimed right at the leaf pile. They were in there all day long from sun up to sunset, bombing in leaves, so it wasn't for lack of effort by any means. I also like this because the weather's always going to affect the vacuum service. If you don't want to roll the dice with the weather and you have the opportunity to put them in bags, you now have that option and they'll take them for free, where in the past, people didn't want to spend the $2 for a sticker to have it picked up when the vacuum truck was going to get it for free. Now they're both free, so that levels the playing field on that. In that regard, so like I said, hopefully the bags provide some relief to the vacuum guys. They can stay on track and then, flip that back and forth between each side of town. But the weather is always going to play a role in the vacuum service. And like Jack said, with the snow on Halloween, it was just downhill from there on out. And that was early in the program.
When you do, as part of the overall communication, and I think I sent this to you last year, we have a lot of residents that want to be more green and more environmentally friendly. It is actually better for the earth to mulch these into your yard, to mow them and chip them up. There are some communities in the United States that have just banned the whole leaf pickup thing. We may want to do some public service about if you want to reduce your carbon footprint, you want to help the earth, the insects, and all that stuff, you can mulch them, mow them, or whatever, and leave them in your grass. It doesn't damage the grass, is my understanding. Over winter, it actually creates a protective covering, allows the soil to renew itself, the insects to renew itself, all things we need in the spring. Could do a little bit of education for those in our community that are want to be environmentally progressive, which also could move us away from the vacuum trucks, which pollute the air and everything else, so.
Sure. Yeah, no, I like that. I'll definitely put some of that out there. Just some other
Yeah, not that we're going to
options.
force anybody, but a lot of people pay attention to what they can do to reduce their carbon footprint, and that's a big, huge way that they could contribute, so. All right, any objections to the plan? If it cuts down on the phone calls, you're a hero.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
right, thank
got our
you.
Concurrence, we'll give it a try. All right, no old business.
Correct.
So we're going to move on to new business, and the first item is approval of ordinance 2020-51,
51?
approving an extension and modification of an intergovernmental agreement regarding regional 911 consolidation.
Sure. So you had a memo from me on this. As you know, a couple years back, we approved an intergovernmental agreement with Lake County and 20 other entities to explore consolidation of 911 services on a regional countywide basis. It was a pretty straightforward IGA, outlined the financial contributions, the governance structure, responsibility of two committees that they developed, the policy committee and the operations committee, and then actually brought on board a project manager and project consultant to assist with the process. That 2 years has passed pretty quick, and there's still work being done. They just finished up reviewing submissions to a request for proposals that they had issued for updated software related to computer-aided dispatch, mobile systems, records management systems, and jail management systems. They have narrowed that field down to either 2 or 3 that they're going to continue to pursue. Since they're in the middle of that process and it's not wrapped up yet, the county has proposed a 1-year no-cost extension of this continued project. So we'll continue to participate in that. There'll be no additional financial contributions from the village. We've been heavily involved in this process. We have probably, well, what do you have, 6, 7 people from the police department, communications, information systems division that have been working through the RFP process, been really impressed with the process from the start, with the choices that they have to date. We're going to be in need of an upgrade to our public safety software here in the near future. The sheriff is in need of an upgrade right now, which is helping to drive the process. So this should be a benefit for everybody when this is done. Obviously, take advantage of economies of scale by all going in together on this, and then also increase interoperability between agencies. So the thought was, move as many entities as possible to the same shared platforms, and then go back and take a look again if there's an opportunity to combine some centers. But at this point, just looking to extend this agreement by 1 more year to get through this RFP process, get a software vendor chosen, negotiate that contract, and then give those entities that want to bring that vendor on board the opportunity to do that.
Any questions from the trustees? I mean, this makes monetary sense since this is very expensive equipment. And from an operation, the more we can communicate with other agencies, that's really important too.
Move to approve.
Motion by trustee Ross. Second by trustee Thorstensen. Roll call, please, Andy.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
6 aye.
Motion carries. Item number 2, approval of ordinance 2020-52, approving the collective bargaining agreement between the Illinois Council of Police, which is the communications operators, and the Village of Gurnee for the term beginning May 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2004.
Sure. So Chief Smith is here tonight, as well as Human Resource Director Palmieri. They both participated in the negotiation process, start to finish. So I'm going to have Chief Smith kind of walk you through the highlights of where we're at with the contract and what we've negotiated.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mutz. Madam Mayor and Board, thank you for having me here today. I think it goes without needing to say, but Director Palmieri plays a huge role in this process, and she's heavily involved and extremely helpful. And the village had a team this year that consisted of Director Palmieri and Jack Langenhan and Erica Wells. And we're joined by the police department, which included Phil Burnell, Wendy Mann, and myself. And I just want to mention the ICOPS communications operators were represented by Alicia Conradi, Tricia Kosling, and Brandon Booth. And so we did, after some interesting attempts to start this process via Zoom, we did eventually get together and start meeting in June of this year. Again, it was pretty clear from the get-go that this was with COVID, it was going to be a strange process, and with the negotiations for the contract. But I think everybody came together and we communicated well. We found out what the main priorities were for the communications operators, and we were able to come to an agreement. I think you've all seen the memo, but again, just to kind of highlight these things, as far as wages went this year, there was no adjustment to the wages for this contract year. However, we did agree and was consistent with the program that's been put into place with the other bargaining units. And so if the village were to meet certain metrics, then there would be a cost of living adjustment increase that would be due. As far as EMD certification, we brought the comms operators in line with the rest of the police department as far as how this works for both the FOP and the ICOPS sergeants. And so they will maintain their 0.5% pay performance on EMD certification through this year. Beginning next year and in the following 2 years, that will increase to 0.75 or 0.75% adjustment there to their certification pay. We spent most of the time, I think, a huge portion. It seemed like there were times where we didn't discuss anything else. And so it was very clear that one of the main priorities for our operators was time off and trying to work on a system that would allow them the flexibility that they were looking for as far as time off goes, and then operationally and schedule-wise, something that would work for the police department and the communications center. We think we got there, and I think that is, the example is that the contract was ratified, but I guess it would be important to note that we did budget for 2 additional comms operators this year. Unfortunately, with the COVID and the budget freeze, we're not able to move forward with those 2 hires. But the village was supportive, and we were able to replace a retirement. And so thank you for that. But again, they kind of work at a minimum staffing level. And they're there most of the days. We do carry a mid-shift that allows some flexibility on occasion. But in order for them to take time off, it needs to be in vacation blocks. And they were really looking for the flexibility that would come with being able to take an individual day off on occasion. And so we were able to work on a program with the personal time that they have available to them. So there was not any increase in time provided to them, but we were able to put a system in place that would allow personal time to be used with some parameters and some metrics in place, and they would be able to take a day off using personal time if it created some overtime. And so currently that is not something that we do. And so if this is ratified, they will have that 24 hours of personal time per year to take individual days off, even if it does create some overtime, which, to be honest, it creates overtime every time somebody takes a day off. And so I think that was probably the most important piece we were able to discuss and settle this time, was giving them some flexibility on individual days off. We were able to address a matron duty. For those of you that are not familiar with it, there are times when the sworn members of the police department do not have a female staff member on duty. And if we arrest a female out on the street and that person comes back to the station, that person needs to be searched. And so communications assists us with that, and they call that matron duty. Previously, they were allowed 1 hour of comp time for each time they assisted with us during that process. Well, again, accumulating that comp time for time off at a later date was problematic because it was difficult for them to take any time off. And so we proposed, and they agreed that we will pay them out on that at 1 hour of straight time for matron duty.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that in addition to their regular pay then? they're getting their regular pay and then this is in addition?
Yes, ma'am, yeah, they would continue to receive their pay for being on duty as a communications operator. This is in addition to that. And so we were, the duration of the contract is 4 years. We were able to internally agree on a 4-year contract, and everything else was updates to laws that, again, Christine plays a huge role in. And so with that, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Trustee O'Brien?
I just have one. It's nice that we have a consensus, and good job putting that together. Thank you very much. The 5 holdouts who didn't cast a vote, is there any way that if this is approved, that they can come in and change the outcome, so to speak?
Now, the vote is final, and so there's a process that the union follows that is dictated by statute, a posting, certain amount of time, vote must be in by a certain date and time, and for whatever reasons, personal, those 5 chose not to participate, not to vote.
Okay, but, so they lose out, they can't come back?
So they're still part of the union, they still have the benefits of the contract, they just chose not to vote one way or the other. They can't come back later date and vote.
Thank you.
Trustee Hood?
Just want to say thanks a lot. I know this was a really real difficult negotiation and had all the indications that it might turn out not so well, but it seems like it happened in an amount of time that was appropriate, right? Was that, that it didn't take an extensive amount of time and no attorneys were involved, is that right?
So we did, in this particular instance, we did have village labor attorney involved with the process.
So just congratulations, it's just good news.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a good contract, both sides. Who did the red line on this? Did you, Christine? This is the cleanest red line I've ever seen, and it was so helpful, versus a memo trying to go bullet by bullet and then read it. So this was, I know, a lot of extra work, but I'm impressed with your red line skills. Having to do some contracts at work, and I'm not that good at it. Any other questions? If not, I'm sorry, what?
Job well done.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by trustee Garner, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
6-8.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that is the end of our regular business. I would ask the trustees to take some time to read the emails and the social media comments on trick-or-treatings. It's obviously the most controversial issue we face as a village. And then give your feedback to Pat so that Pat and Jack can be prepared with whatever you want. So when we discuss this on September 28th, we can make a decision that's in the best interest for the greatest good for the whole community. So I'm just asking you to be ready. All right, trustee Thorntonson?
Yeah, I saw that we are following guidance or seeking guidance from both the Illinois Municipal League and Illinois Department of Public Health. Does Lake County Health Department have a role?
I've got a call in the Lake County Health Department, I'm waiting to hear back. And then again, the Illinois Municipal League sends out weekly emails, and it's the second thing on their email right now is that they've reached out to the governor's office and they're waiting for feedback. Jack has also been surveying surrounding communities, and we have a call into Waukegan to try to coordinate with them as much as possible as well, no matter which direction we go. So we are waiting for that guidance.
I know you get.
Yeah, everyone's trying to wait for the governors. We're afraid if we put plans in motion and then your residents prepare and then the governor comes out in a press, event and says, oops, he's calling it off, then we kind of have egg on our face. But again, we have to be concerned with the safety, so it is a difficult choice this year what to do. So it'd be easier if the governor did make a decision for us. Trustee Ross?
And it would probably be good to talk with the Park District, too, to see if they have an idea, like.
Sure.
Yeah, we can, yeah. All right, public comment. I'll open the floor to the public. Young ladies, any comments for us? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.